Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast show. I'm your host, Maria Gonçalves, and today I have two very special guests all the way from Australia. So I have my co-host, Dana Louise. Welcome, Dana.
Thanks, Maria, for having me. I'm really looking forward to today's chat. I've got a lovely guest on today.
We do, and we have Lisa Hayley all the way from Australia too. So welcome, welcome.
Thanks so much. Thank you both for having me on today. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm super excited you're here. So I am going to read a little bit of a bio so you guys get to know Lisa. So Lisa is a professional psychic medium, intuitive artist, as you can see all her beautiful artwork behind her. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, that's all created by her. Absolutely stunning. She's an intuitive artist and an inspired poet based in the vibrant city of Perth in Western Australia. Since childhood, Elisa's had the ability to sense those who have passed away. Her journey into spiritual work deepened following the sudden loss of someone very dear to her. In her search for healing, she received a powerful reading from a highly respected medium who revealed that Lisa too was destined to help others connect with their loved ones beyond the veil. Lisa now offers readings, classes, and workshops, both in person and online, and is dedicated to guiding others on their spiritual path. She is also passionate about nurturing her students' intuitive abilities in a safe, supportive, and practical environment where they can grow at their own pace. I absolutely love this. And then also, as an artist, Lisa works primarily with pastels, creating beautiful pieces that are printed on a range of surfaces suitable for both indoor and outdoor display. So, welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Dana. Thank you.
So, I'm always curious how mediums develop their mediumship abilities or how they get introduced to spirit. But you were introduced to spirit when you were a young child. So, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, it's the ability that I have is in my mum's side of the family, but it was something that wasn't talked about. So, although my mum's got the ability and my grandmother did and aunties, it's just something that we didn't talk about as a family back then. To be honest, when it first started, I can remember being about 3 or 4. And it would often be at bedtime that I'd be laying there and I could just sense, I didn't see so much then. It was like sensing people near my bed. And as much as I find it really comforting now, when I was a young child, I used to find it a little bit scary, to be honest. And I used to just turn my face away and sleep facing the wall. So that was sort of how it started. And then I guess as I got a little bit older, it was just like probably what like you've both had yourselves, where you have that knowing of something that's going to happen. My mum has got really good like a ability to get premonition, and that's actually what put her off it because she was a bit frightened of it, so she sort of closed it down. But for me, I guess it was like that was my first start with was the just yeah having that intuition that something was going to happen, or just knowing something and thinking, oh, how did I know that? That's how it started. And then really for me, the door opened after I did lose my pop. I was very lucky. I had all of my grandparents for a very long time, and we were all very close, good friends. But my pop passed suddenly, and another friend also passed within 2 weeks. And my friend's brother told me about a very well-respected medium that at the time was in Perth, and she's now based in Sydney and traveling the world. But I just had the most amazing reading with her. And I just was shaking with like spirit was so palpable in the room. What was so amazing about that reading was also that she told me a lot of things that I didn't know. I'm a really positive person and I wanted to say yes to a lot of things, but I didn't realize at the time that she was absolutely correct. And I think that's so important as mediums that we realize that when we get a no, I think when we first start on this journey, a no can be disconcerting. But for me, the no's that I said at the time ended up being like a jewel in the crown later. Because I found out that this lady that I'd never met before, who only had my first name and mobile phone number, knew all of these things that 2, 3, 4 years later I found out were actually correct. Because as close as I was to my grandfather, I didn't realize that he was actually born William Duncan Hayley. I always knew him as Duncan William Hayley or Doug Hayley. But back then, often they used to swap the names around because his grandfather that he lived with was also a William. So there were things like that that she said to me that I've got two Williams here for you. And I said, oh, no, I don't know any Williams. And then found out obviously later that, yes, someone that was very close and dear to me was a William. So from there, that was the lady that told me that I'd be doing this as well. And then I started doing development classes with her. She's an excellent teacher. I've been very blessed that I've had lots of amazing teachers. And that's how it sort of started through doing development classes, workshops, retreats. And it was just absolutely has from that day. It's just been my love and passion ever since.
Lisa, can I just ask, going back to your childhood, just taking you back a little bit, you mentioned that your mother had premonitions, but that frightened her and shut her down. But you mentioned it came down from the women's side of the family. Is that correct?
My mum's side of the family?
Yeah, mum's side of the family. That's right.
Yes. Yeah,
So
yeah.
who else? What's the history there? Do you know more? Is there a grandmother
I
that
just
had the
remember
ability?
little. I remember little things like my granny who only just passed 2 years ago. But I was very close to my granny, and I do remember her telling me a story about how she had a premonition of something happening. And she just remembers she was making pies. My granny was a fantastic cook, and she was making pies, and she just had this sort of vision of something happening to do with an accident, to do with her brother-in-law. And then it actually did happen that day. Like later on that day, she did find out that this accident had occurred, and that always intrigued me as a child, that story. And actually, even on my dad's side of the family, my nana did have sort of some intuition. I remember her telling me as a child about in wartime how they used to go walking at night and there were blackouts and they'd go to dances, and it had always been very safe. But then there was a situation where she just heard a voice tell her to run after this man spoke to her. And then again, it turned out that this man had, committed some crimes, and she didn't know why. Just a voice had said to her, you need to run. And she just ran and then found out later that this man had to go to court and things like that. So it has actually, when I think about it, been on both sides of the family, but more on my mum's side. And aunties, I remember one of my aunties had gone overseas, and back then it was before mobile phones, and she was in this place where it was very hard to make a phone call, but she just said to her husband, she said, I have to ring home. I know something's wrong. Something's happened with family. And it was a really strange thing because I suddenly had to get put into hospital back in my 20s due to unforeseen circumstances. It was on that day. And the same day, my granddad, her dad, got put into hospital as well. So she had that real sense of something's wrong, have to ring home, and urgency. So she did get to ring home and find out that both of us had been put into hospital. So just those kind of things that I've heard about.
So what does the families, because they had those personal experiences in the family of those strong instinctual premonitions as such, what did the family think when you began to develop? What was the thoughts around that?
I think at first it was uncomfortable. And I think for my mum, it was uncomfortable because for her, in her experience, unfortunately, a lot of the time with my mum's premonitions, it was before something happened that wasn't a great thing. So
Right.
she was worried about me opening up. So it did take a little while, and it was almost like, I don't know if it's okay to say this, but like me coming out of the closet really, because for a long time people didn't know that this was this part of me. And for a while, I was able to keep it closed. And basically at work, a lot of people didn't know that I was doing this, and close family knew about it, but even close family didn't know that I was doing it. And then it just got to the stage where I think it's like once you commit to spirit and you just love doing this so much, it's just like a floodgate that you just can't hold that door closed any longer because you're not honoring yourself. It's the biggest part of you. And it's just like it just has to come out. So it did
Mm,
take time. And
mm,
and I did do a lot of development before I trusted myself. I think because I had such amazing tutors, my bar kept raising higher and higher before I thought, oh, can I actually step out there and do this? Am I going to be good enough? Because I have been so blessed to have so many amazing mentors that are either, trained teachers or students. I mean, often in our classes, we just have these amazing students as well, you know, that do so brilliantly that might not ever go on to do it professionally. But it took a long time for me to get there. But I guess getting back to your question, yes, it took a while, I suppose, for family and friends to accept the new me, which was always me, but it was the side of me that I'd kept probably hidden for a long time. But now I know my mum and dad are going to listen in after to this, and they're really supportive. And that just gives me so much joy that my friends and family now are along with me, cheering me on from the sidelines. So I feel so blessed for that.
Oh, that's lovely, Lisa. And can I ask too, because quite often mediums that have a professional working life, and you're actually in education as a teacher for many years, find it difficult. They keep that separate, as you say, and don't share it for fear of judgment, because there still is judgment around the work that we do when people don't actually understand what it is that we're doing. And there is fear
That's right.
around it. So, uh, obviously, when you came out of the closet, as you said, how were you received at work? What was the opinions there?
Um, well, I've been at the centre where I work. I've been there since 1995, and I'm
Mm.
still there. So some people, obviously, I've made beautiful friends over the years. So there's been people that knew that side of me, but there was a lot that didn't. But last year, I actually, because other side of me is I'm a big gardener, and I've got frog ponds, and one of my friends last year, you know, got me put in the newspaper to come and look at my garden. But in the newspaper, it also said that I do tea leaf readings from home. And then it was like, that was it. I was really out of the closet at work. Um, so look, I think they're really okay with it as long as, you know, obviously I do keep it very separate at work. I mean, I think, you know, when we do this work as mediums, we're also empaths. So the children I work with have got language, you know, learning difficulties. So they come under the special needs umbrella. And I think that's where people like us, you know, we've got that. I don't bring into it at any stage any of the mediumship, obviously, or psychic work, but what I bring to it is like what we do, educators bring to the classroom is our hearts, you know, just that knowing that these kids are troubled and you know, just going that extra mile for them, which all the people at my work do that. You know, they're not mediums, but they all have those beautiful hearts because that's why they're there to help and to heal kids that have got problems.
I'm curious with your background and your family, are you Catholic or atheist? Like, what are you?
No, so interesting. So we're not of any, my family's not, well, how can I put this? My great grandmother was very religious. She was Church of England, and I don't read the Bible, but I've got her Bible and my granny's Bible. So they were churchgoers in the earlier years. I remember I'm not baptized, and I remember when I was a teenager, like my dad said, well, we didn't baptize you because we wanted you to decide, you know, your path spiritually. So my family, like my grandparents on both sides, my mum and dad, are not of any set religion, but I guess they've always been, you know, well, probably something that is a religious saying is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is always been this thing that I was brought up with that, you know, I'm certainly not perfect and I don't profess to be, but the big thing in both sides of my family that I was so lucky to have was just kindness, like showing acts of kindness to friends, family, and strangers. Um, my granny that I told you that passed 2 years ago, but she was very much a community giver. She worked for the Red Cross, which she was in the Red Cross store for 30 years. And she delivered Meals on Wheels even when she was at an age where people should have probably been delivering her Meals on Wheels. I don't know, do they call it Meals on Wheels over in other areas? So, you know, like just taking hot meals to people that couldn't get out or cook their own meals. So I was very blessed in my upbringing to have very kind and caring grandparents and parents. So I guess that was not a religion, but that's how I was brought up.
So I'm
Mm.
curious because a lot of mediums will have this experience where they've been hiding as mediums, so nobody knows they're mediums. And then as they slowly start to share with other people, then they start to lose friends or family stops talking to them. Did you experience any of that, or was just everybody very open?
Look, I definitely have experienced things, you know, where you might have thought you were in a situation where the people, you know, that you might have asked, is it okay if we talk about this? Or I've been in situations before, perhaps where it's a group setting and somebody wants you to tune in. And so I always ask for permission, well, is that okay? And then I've done that and then thought later, I don't think a couple of people were comfortable with that. So now, in a situation like that, I would say to the person, oh, look, look, I'm happy to do, say if it's friends or family, I'm not going to charge them, but just sort of say, well, look, can we make another time to do that? Or I've been in situations where someone's like really, really questioning me about lots of things to do with the spiritual stuff because they're interested, but then in a group setting, you can see other people are uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so what I've realized now is I have to use discernment and read the room and probably, even though one person's really asking me all these questions, is to actually say, oh, look, I'm so glad you're interested in that, but maybe we need to talk about this another time. Because, you don't realize till later that sometimes people just they're not comfortable with it. And that's absolutely fine because everybody is on their own path and journey. And I do think, sometimes people are frightened of our work. I mean, for something that gives me so much joy, I've realized I remember once actually talking about going back to the work question. I remember a lady from work finding out, obviously I hadn't disclosed this to her, and I just bumped into her outside of Kmart, and she goes, oh, you're not going to read me, are you? And I'm like, no, I would never do that. Like, I'm like, I'm not, I'm just me. I'm just like, I'm at Kmart, like, I'm not going to read anybody unless, I've got their permission or unless we're in a reading. So that was interesting because she looked terrified, like I was going to start telling her everything then and there. So, I think, yeah, it's really about checking in first. And even though sometimes people tell you it's okay, that's probably what I found is sometimes they're actually not really comfortable with it, even when they've said they are. And that's a really tricky one,
Yeah.
to navigate. Yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I've lost friends, in an argument, but you probably do find that there are some friends that stay by you. You meet new friends along. It's a bit like the Dorothy. I love that story, the Wizard of Oz story. And I think it is a bit like Dorothy, where you do pick up new friends on your spiritual path. But then there are some that probably you just might not see as much because you're just doing something different to what they were used to.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So, for those of you that are listening or watching, know that you are not alone on your spiritual journey and that it happens to all of us. That's so fascinating. So, I am curious with your artwork that's behind you, how did you get into artwork?
So, from when I was really little, I always loved to draw. It was a really, for me, it was a really peaceful thing to do. Um, and so I'd quite often go off into my bedroom and draw. My grandparents that I talk about a lot were both my mum and dad came from the country. So I was very lucky and I got to spend a lot of time in the country. So growing up, I got to spend time in the bush and draw in the bush and things like that. So when I was younger, I didn't really realize that I was being inspired. It's in recent years that so before I'd go in with an idea of I'm going to draw this and I'd sit down and draw it, I'd go to art classes, always loved art, but where it's changed for me, probably in the last 10 years is now I'll just sit down, I've got my pastel chalks, and I don't always know what I'm going to draw. I just sit down and the drawing just starts to come. And they're really quick, actually. A lot of the drawings are quite quick. Like it's like they'll come across really quickly. And the other thing, which I don't think you can see from here, but I could grab it, is I have drawn some of my guides and inspirers, and I've never been good at portraits. It's something I'm not good at, but when I draw spirit guides, it's like it just happens, and suddenly I can draw their teeth or their nose. Whereas if I tried to draw you lovely ladies, I'd have to say, you'd say that's Picasso. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work for me. But I've drawn for people before with spirit guides, and I've even done it upside down, and I've even changed hands and done it with my left hand. Because when you're inspired by spirit, it's not me that's doing this lovely work. It's spirit. So when I've done should I just grab one, the one of this lovely lady that's
Sure, I'd
behind
love
me?
to see
Yeah.
them. I'm really curious.
I'll just show you this one. Because this is a lovely lady that works with me that's a nun. I don't know if
Wow.
you can see her,
Yeah.
but you can feel the love of her. I can feel,
Ah.
the love of her. And so, like I said, I drew her teeth and everything, and I normally can't do that. So that's something I haven't done for a little while, but I am interested in. And there's some other ones in the background that I did of some beings that I felt drawn to when I did a reading for a lady. So I just the artwork for me is lovely. I lose time and I feel so close to spirit when I do that. So it's just making sure you allow yourself that time, because I think in our work we've got a physical life going on as well. And it's really easy sometimes to get so caught up in the physical world that we forget to, or for myself, you forget to take that time to sit and be with spirit and to do your artwork or your meditation, and you just feel so much better after you've had that time.
Lisa, can I ask, with the spirit art and the portraits that you were just talking about being inspired from doing a reading, was that something that you actually learnt or trained to do, or how did that come about for you?
It was really interesting. It started after I'd been to a retreat, which that particular retreat was not a an art workshop. And I came home and it was just a really fantastic 2 day workshop. We all went really deep. And then I just for days was drawing faces, and like these spirit faces were coming, and it just went on and on and on quite, for a couple of weeks. And then actually another time that I did it was I was very lucky. I got to sit in um, with a physical medium. And after I sat with the physical in a big group, again with that lovely lady that I told you about from Sydney. So I got to sit in with them and I actually got to do a drawing after. And the drawing that I did was actually of the physical medium's guide. And the guide actually gave me information which they verified later. So that was something that was really amazing for me, because it was stuff that wasn't written down. But it's something I need to get back to actually, because I've been doing a lot of this, colourful art and everything, but I am feeling drawn to get back to drawing some more of the spirit art. I did do 1 day class, Dana, with a well-known Australian artist, and that was fantastic. But then since then, I've drawn about 3 people for myself, and I haven't really been doing that. But that is something that I'm wanting to get back into again as well.
And,
I
and
do find
just
it
looking at,
fascinating.
yeah, absolutely. But just looking at your colourful pastels and the artwork behind you, is that something that you have for sale, Lisa? Are you selling those, or how is that in prints
Yeah,
or?
so I'm actually, as of this year, I'm taking this big leap of faith. I'm jumping off the cliff, okay, in a good way because I've got my wings, so don't worry. Because last year I was very much tied up in the education system, and that's been fantastic for me. But this year, I've cut right down on that, and I am going to be selling my artwork because, as you said, Maria, I can get it printed on glass and metal on canvas. I can do little prints.
Mm.
Um, the next thing I'm also doing is I've written a 24 pack Oracle deck with my artwork in it as well.
Oh,
But
brilliant.
see, sometimes talking to the spirit world is a lot easier for me than anything to do with technology. So I'm just at the moment exploring, who to get them printed with and where to go with all of that. So I've got it all ready to go. So this year is going to be about getting myself out there more with my mediumship, with my artwork. I've got a collection of poems that I'm wanting to get put into a little booklet as well. So I'm sort of right on the edge of getting all of that ready. But certainly, if anyone's interested in my artwork, I'm definitely able to start selling that for sure.
I had no idea you did the poetry, Lisa, because I do the
Yeah.
poetry too, but I had no idea. Is there anything there that you could put your hands on and share perhaps with the listeners?
Funny that you say that because I opened a drawer this morning to get something else out. And I don't know it off by heart, but I have got a poem, one that I prepared earlier. I'll just grab it.
Sure.
It's funny. Yeah. And again with the poetry, with the inspiration, because the other thing that I did for a couple of years was, having said that I wasn't brought up with a religion, was I was very lucky. I was assistant minister at a spiritual church for 2 years. And then in doing that, when you ran the service, we needed to have a philosophy, and the way my philosophy came was often the night before I'd get a poem, and then the poem would lead into my philosophy. So that's where a lot of my poetry came from, was when I was I'm not an assistant minister anymore, but that was a really great experience. It just wasn't the right timing for me because I was working 4 days a week teaching. I was being the assistant minister, which means you're obviously there on Sundays and running a fortnightly class with the Reverend. So in the end, I just couldn't keep doing it. It was the wrong timing, but it was a really great way for my poetry. That's where that really started to flow from doing that. So this one, if I can read it, is called The Line in the Sand. Grandfather, granddaughter walked hand in hand. He said, "Today I'll teach you about the line in the sand." "Are we building sandcastles today, Grandad?" she asked, her eyes meeting his. "Yes, my darling, and it's called the sandcastle of life. That's what it is. Some people will know how to treat you, my dear. Sadly, others will need to be shown, and you'll need to be clear. Sometimes the ones that hurt you the most, leaving your heart sad and sore, they will be the ones you love the most, and you'll need to show them the door. It will be challenging at times, and you may have given them chance after chance, but after a while you realize that you are in a one-sided dance. Many people continue the dance. It can go on for years and years. It is because they are so scared to let go and finally face their fears. To be in this dance can feel safe, but it's often truly sadder to stay. Sometimes you have to speak up, draw the line in the sand, and be ready to walk away. Walking away takes bravery. Will I be all right? Can I cope alone? Will I ever truly find love? But better to leave than lead a life half lived. A divine plan will always be sent down from above. Family, partners, schoolmates, colleagues can be our very best friends, but when they continue to treat you badly, you will need courage to make the bad behaviour end. Never be afraid to draw the line in the sand, my dear. Let people know when they have crossed it. Show others your worth. Shine your light bright. It will always be there, even when you feel you have lost it. The line in the sand isn't always about an ending. In fact, it often brings a new beginning. It's about loving yourself, being your own best friend, and living the life you should be living. After reflection, some will come back again after your line in the sand. It will be your choice to give them another chance, and just be aware of old habits coming back, and do not always join that one-sided dance. Remember to have fun, my dear. Be kind, be true, and most of all, look after yourself. This is something you must always do. Sometimes the line in the sand is necessary to find out who is truly there for you.
Lovely. I think that's wise words for anyone starting out on the journey of love, life, and even we can cross that over to mediumship development as well.
That's it.
Knowing what's right for you and when to say, okay, this isn't right for me. So that's beautiful, beautiful, Lisa. I can see you putting that together and getting that out there shortly, because I think beautiful words like that, there's always someone that will be touched by it or moved by it. And I'm sure there's someone listening today that needed to hear that. So thank you for sharing, Lisa.
Thank you, ladies. I think, like you said, in life, and especially when you are empath, I think sometimes our boundaries, we want to help and we care so much that can be the danger. In anyone that's a giver or a carer, is we give and give so much, but sometimes we have to have that line in the sand, and that's hard for people that are empath because it's so in our nature and in our hearts. But there are those times when we have to say, well, like you said, that's enough, or that's not right for me, and know that that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or you're a grumpy person. It's just like you're saying, well, that's enough now.
And I think all those big moments and those hard lessons or difficult moments in life really does grow your ability to connect in with others, because you may have experiences that they've had. In your development and mediumship, as you heal from that, you might find, well, I don't know about you, Lisa, but I found so many people having an experience that I'd had as well, but being able to speak from a different place. So
yeah.
And how is that natural, sensitive, nurturing side to you, how has that affected your mediumship? Because you're
Um,
quite the sensitive and quite the giver. If you
I
could
think
talk on that.
I think it's like sometimes we think, in life when something goes wrong and you have a heartbreak, whether it's losing someone or or someone leaves you, whether it's a partner or a friendship and you think, oh, why did that happen to me? And I think what you learn from it is in my mediumship is so many people have been through the same things as me. So it helps you when you have these hard times to be able to relate to someone else. Certainly what I've found through my mediumship is there's so many people that have had such difficult lives, and it's made me realize, how grateful I am for everyone I have and everything I have in my life. But yeah, you just realize there's people out there that are doing it really tough. I'm very much while I'm with that person, I'm with them. But I do remember, Dana, from our training, like you just after you finish, you do need to let things go. Because otherwise it can be very draining. Like you really have to look after yourself. For anyone that's listening out there that's a medium or an intuitive or a healer, you really can be so present with that person while they're with you, but you do need to sort of let it go after because we see so many people and we need to look after our own energy as well for ourselves and for our family. I feel.
Mm.
So you were talking about mentors. Do you have a favorite mentor that touched your heart?
Oh, I've been so lucky for anyone that's listening. Like, I wouldn't want to leave anybody out, but because I've been so blessed. But I know like Dana and I, we were so lucky to study under Mavis Pittilla. And I also have had other tutors that were, that were trained under her. I've had other people that have been self-taught. I've been very, very blessed. But I nearly didn't do her training because I think a lot of us are probably like this. We're always thinking, oh, someone else can do that, or, oh, that's great, they're doing that, but I can't do that. And I was actually having a kinesiology appointment with a lovely lady who was going over to see one of our tutors, the one I was talking about, Christine, that lives in Sydney. And she was going, oh, I'm going to Christine's workshop in the Blue Mountains. And I was like, oh, that would be so fantastic. I said, oh, Mavis is coming next year to Sydney. Oh, I'd love to go. And she said, well, why can't you go? If I can go, why can't you go? And then it was like this, like, oh yeah, why can't I go? So I was really lucky. I got to meet Jean and Mavis. I had a week retreat over there. And then I was just very blessed because I got to have a little bit of one-on-one mentorship with her. And then I signed up for the mentorship program. And it was just amazing. I'll never regret that. It was just, and I still like we were talking about before we came on, I still feel Mavis is around all of us, all of her students. You get those little nudges or you hear something,
Mhm.
and I'm sure she's still helping us all from the other side. I feel that she continues her training with us. And to all my other mentors and inspirers, I can't name everybody. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I've been very blessed here that I've had many beautiful male and female um, friends and tutors that have helped me. I haven't got here on my own. So for anyone listening, I don't want to leave anyone out, but I had so
And,
many great
and I,
people
I
help me
think
in the
too,
past.
Lisa, with Mavis, especially with both of us, because we were just finding our voice back then, I think she'd be most pleased that we're actually putting ourselves out there.
Yeah,
So I'm sure
absolutely.
she's with us.
Yes. And she actually predicted one of the things she did that still blows my mind to this day was when we were over in Pymble at her retreat workshop. And I can't remember how many people were there, but there were hundreds. And
Mm,
she did a quick spiritual assessment on each and every one of us. She went boom, boom, boom around the room. And she did pick up on my guides and as far as the nun and the Chinese man that works with me. And then
mm,
she actually said to me, you'll be doing platform. Back then I wasn't doing it professionally. She said, you'll be doing stand-up readings, you'll be doing private sittings. And she said, you'll be publishing poetry. And that was before I was even thinking of any of that stuff. So quite amazing. And she did that for every person in the room. It was quite amazing. An amazing lady.
Did you
mm.
believe her? Did any part of
I
you
I
believe her?
absolutely wanted to. I absolutely wanted to. Like,
Or did you tell her? You're like, no, I don't believe you. I don't think that's
Well,
going to happen.
I can say that one of the last things Mavis said to me in a spiritual assessment in our 12-month tutorship online with I think it was the Down Unders, the ladies of Down Under,
Yeah,
or
that's right.
Mavis's Down Under group, is that she said she went around the group and she said a bit to me, and then she came back, and Dana, because she always called me Dana, she said, "A speaker you shall be." Now, at that time, that would be the last thing I would ever think, even putting myself out there, talking, having it recorded, or even going on the internet. So, how true she was.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I was very
mm,
blessed because I had 3 private sittings with her, which I still listen to, and it gives me such comfort. And honestly, the things that she foresaw, they've all come to fruition. There's one that hasn't yet, but I won't tell you what that one is.
we'll
I'm
wait
still
to
waiting,
hear.
waiting for that one. But yeah, quite amazing.
I
Amazing
love that.
lady.
We have to wait and see. I find like even for myself years ago, I had a spiritual assessment. They told me I was going to be a platform medium. And I was like so determined to prove them wrong. I was like, what are you talking about? So I was curious what your reaction was. So that's really cool. I am curious because you had mentioned you were going to create oracle cards. Do they come with prayers or is it just the artwork that you're creating? Or you haven't gone
So
there yet?
So they're not printed yet. I'm liaising with printers. This is the thing that terrifies me. Talking to the spirit world is so lovely, but all this other stuff terrifies me. So I've got it in draft form. So I've got all the artwork ready, and then there's like each card's got a meaning and then a little affirmation. But with me, with cards, I'm also in the booklet going to write. You don't have to stick to the booklet because I'm very much with my cards about just using the imagery as well. So you can, for someone that's a beginner, if they're not confident, they can go to the book and use the book. But then I love to get my cards out and just put the book aside. I'm addicted to oracle cards because I love art. So I've got a whole cupboard full. And I get them out, and when I read cards, I very much read by the imagery. And I've got a little deck that is my favorite, and they've just about worn out. And every time I use them, like I have certain cards that mean something to me, but often each card tells a new story for each new sitter. So my oracle deck will be like that. It'll be there'll be a way to use it if you are learning, but I'll very much be encouraging in my booklet for it to be used as an intuitive tool to just go with the imagery, go with the feeling, that sort of thing. So I'm really looking at getting that out before the end of this year, but I just have to find my right person. I've got to get someone else to help me check it first.
Yeah.
But it's on the way. It's on the way. So I've actually finished writing it, but I just need to get it into print now.
Oh, wow. And how long did it take you to create the artwork for the deck?
Um, well, some of it I had already done through the intuitive art. So some of it I've done especially for the oracle cards, but some of it I've used, it's art that has been in this art room, like looking at me, talking to me for the last 5 years, really. Probably the artwork has been created over 5 years. The actual writing has been, within the last 12 months. And I'm really in the next few months wanting to get it to come to fruition so that I can use it in my workshops, and then people will be able to buy it as well.
Oh, that is so cool. So I am curious because you mentioned you have a favorite Oracle deck that is quite worn out. Can you let us know which is your favorite Oracle deck? Because now I'm
Yeah,
curious what it is.
it's a really small little deck called the Lenormand deck. So
Okay.
it's a little, yeah, the Lenormand deck, and it's really interesting because going way, way back when I had my first reading, or another reading that I had, not the first one, another reading, it wasn't the first reading. The lady said to me, "You'll be using the Lenormand deck," and of course I go straight out and buy it, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't really like these cards. Sorry, cards, if you're listening." But I'm like, I don't really like these cards, and it took me years actually to start to use them. I bought all these other cards and mucked around with all the other cards, and then it was interesting. Once I started doing the readings, I just kept being drawn to those cards, and I pick those cards up every day. They're little pocket-sized cards. But honestly, I've used them so much that yeah, that they've really just about worn off. The imagery, I probably really need to get another deck because you can barely see it now. But yeah, they're just a little one. And I don't use the booklet that goes with that, purely intuitive with those.
Yeah. And then you mentioned you did tea leaf reading. Like who taught you that?
Yeah.
Did you do that in
Well, I did do a tea leaf workshop once, going way, way back, and then never did anything with it. And then through my workshops, I was just really drawn to doing it. And um, the way I do it again is like with my cards is I just, get the people to they don't have to drink it if they really can't stand tea. But when I do workshop, I'll quite often get them to drink the tea. And if they don't want to drink it, I just get them to swirl it around and tip it out, but leaving the leaves. And then it's just like the clairvoyance, the imagery, you start to see little pictures. And then I also teach my students to look at the imagery on the cup as well. And if there's something that's spilled over, you can look into, something they might be, their cup's overflowing because they're so happy, but it might be that things, are going a bit awry. So again, with the tea leaf readings, it's very much about intuition, clairvoyance, those sort of things, bringing, like, it's just another tool.
Yeah.
Another thing I love to do is chocolate readings as well. So while you do your cup of tea, you get a little chocolate. And again, it's just like the word, you're drawn to the words, the colors. It's amazing what people have picked up. So it's just about icebreakers for your students, I think, as well. It's tools
Yeah.
as well.
Is there a special tea that you have to use? Or no, it doesn't
It's
matter.
funny at first. The main thing is, I think you do develop ways to do it, because at first, like, people were putting in too much and then getting all tea in their teeth, and so you have to just make sure that you just let the tea sit for a little bit in the bottom. Let it steep and let it soften, and then put in the water, and then they just sip it, or they can gently pour it out. We just use like black leaf tea or green rose tea leaves. In Australia, I don't know if they've got them in America and Canada, but there's a T2 tea, and there's lots of beautiful teas. So sometimes we have some of those as well.
Yeah.
But just loose tea, basically.
Oh, we have lots of tea here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
are you?
I
Oh,
really
sorry,
enjoy the
Lisa.
tea leaves. No, go on.
Just on the tea leaves, are you actually? I know you're teaching workshops and you're doing the psychic development, mediumship development, and are
Yes.
you teaching the spirit art, the tea leaf reading? What are you actually doing in
So,
the
so
workshops, Lisa?
I haven't taught the spirit art yet. I do feel that will be something that will come down the track. I've actually got a workshop on tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to.
Ooh.
So, we start off with a meditation, and the meditation that I do is guided. And when I first started doing this, I would write the meditation and I would read it. And I did that for a long time. And then spirit started playing tricks on me, and I'd have my meditation sitting next to me at the workshop ready to go. And then suddenly it wasn't there because someone had moved it, and they were really pushing me to do inspired. So I start off now, I put my music on, and then I just go with spirit, do a guided meditation. Then we do, like I said, we have the little chocolate readings because it's fun. That's everyone's favorite. And I do the tea leaf readings as well. So usually we do that at break time and I've been so lucky, like lots of my friends and family have given me these most gorgeous tea sets, like the really old fashioned teacups and saucers. Actually, one friend, I just have to mention her because she gave me her mother-in-law's tea set that she got for her 21st birthday. So we use that and honor that as well. So I teach them that. We do things like with the divining rods, like sensing energy. We
Mm.
do some healing exercises as well, sensing energy and healing. Each workshop, like, I've always got way too much to do. Because being a school teacher as well, like, my dad was in my shed the other day and he goes, "Why have you got all those tubs of cereal? Like, what's going on in there?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a sensory box, and there's different things in there that they're going to pick out, and then they're going to read those for each other." And like, I just like to make it fun. And I do bring into my workshops probably a lot of my school teacher tricks, because although I work with younger children, I feel we all need fun. So I like to make the workshops fun. Obviously it needs to have the practical side, and it needs to have the what do you call it, the educational side from, talking about things. But I always like to make the activities lots of fun, because for some people it's their first time, and they can be, like, one lady actually said in her email to me, she said, "I'm coming on my own, it's my first time." And it's like, you just want to make people feel at ease and enjoy the experience.
Mm.
That does sound like fun. I need to fly to Australia now.
Please do. Yeah, the workshops are, they just always go too quick, to be honest. Like I'll probably end up doing retreats in the next couple of years because one day just goes too fast. I really need 2 days.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm doing them in Perth, but I've also started doing them like in country, Western Australia as well. So I've got one at the end of the month in Bunbury, and I know for both of you, these places probably you haven't heard of, but they're just little country towns around the place. So I'm starting to travel with those as well, which is great fun.
That does sound like fun. I am curious because I like to ask all of our guests this. So for somebody who is brand new to mediumship on this journey, what would you recommend step one be?
For someone they're just
They're brand
starting
new,
out.
but they're super excited. Just like we mentioned, you got chocolate reading, tea leaf reading, artwork, spirit art. Like there's so much. So people don't get
Um,
so overwhelmed. What would you recommend step one be?
I think for me, what I probably did first was obviously I was very lucky. I had a very good tutor. So I think it's like finding someone that can help you to unfold because people have already got that natural ability, but they need someone to guide them. So I think that's really important to find the right person. The other thing I did was also I did a lot of reading. I saturated myself with reading. There was I looked up really well-known mediums and I did watch things on YouTube as well. But I do think probably the most important thing is to find a good tutor. And also, like we touched on earlier, because if it's something that you haven't told your friends or family about, you probably do need to be prepared for the fact that you're going to get some resistance somewhere along the line. And just that, like we talked about earlier, just know that's normal. It's just that first people are uncomfortable with the new you, that's the you that you always have been. And and sometimes it might be that you just keep it back from those people for a little while you're unfolding. It's not hiding it, but if you don't want to be shut down is the big thing, I think. Another big thing I think is also opening up to spirit, like having that time each day where you, like we said, we all live busy lives, but sitting in the power, sitting with spirit, getting yourself some good meditation that helps you maybe go on a guided journey or visualization and those kind of things I think are really powerful. And probably joining a development group, so that you can join with other people that are, you have circles all around the world. We have circles where, you might go for an hour or two of an evening and join with like-minded people with a tutor. And I think the other thing to remember is take on board from your tutor what resonates with you, even though this person might be the best medium in the world or in the country or in your town. I think it's really important. I say this to my students as well. I don't know everything, and what I say is what I believe today, and I'm growing, and what I believe today is going to change and develop over time. And I always say to people, just take on board what resonates with you. You don't have to do it exactly how I say it because I think it's really important for mediums and psychics just to also develop their own style, not to be a carbon copy or a cutout of their tutor. So I think that's important to probably go and watch other people develop, maybe watch on YouTube, maybe go to a spiritualist center where you can see a medium doing live stand-up events is really good as well. And just don't give up because I think it is definitely, if I get back to the Dorothy story, on our road to mediumship, you do come across, people that are going to try and trip you over. There'll be some stumbles on the road, but just remember there's this beautiful golden path that's in front of you, and there's always the scarecrow and the lion and the tin man. That we always find these people as we go along our spiritual journey. I really do believe, and even the ones that trouble us, they are there to help us learn. And I know we don't always want the wicked witch or whoever it is, the thorn in our side, but they often that saying blessing or a curse, like sometimes these things that happen to us later, we find out actually I was supposed to go through that. I really learned so much through that. So um, I think that's really important as well.
Oh, that was beautiful. And Dana, any last words before we go?
Lisa, I can just say how much I've enjoyed this time with you, and I love to see you flourish from that. The class that we did with Mavis, and to see you really step into your own is a beautiful thing. And I think even as teachers ourselves, when we watch students progress, and then we know that we're in our own way growing as we stretch ourselves to then go on and teach at a certain point. So it's been a fabulous hour, and I can't wait to see this deck when it comes out as well. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, thank you both. Well, I've really enjoyed it too. Thank you both, lovely ladies, for having me on, and I've really appreciated the time, and it's been a lovely morning. So morning, evening, noon probably for you. Thank you both,
Oh,
and
thank
thank you, Spirit.
And you know what? When you get your deck and your book, you will have to come back and show us your deck, because for those that are listening to this podcast and following, I love Oracle decks. Like, I have such a huge collection in tarot decks, and I'm creating my own tarot deck. So I understand that passion for,
Oh,
I don't
lovely.
know. I have a problem. I'm addicted to cards, but
Oh, so am I. Don't worry, I'm with you.
That's for
I need
another
card.
podcast.
I need card therapy as well. I think
cards
it's a
are,
good
oh,
thing.
I love that. So when you get your cards ready and your book ready, we would love to have you back to showcase
Oh,
your
thank
deck.
you.
So
That would be so wonderful. Thank you both so much. I would love that. That'd be, and good luck with yours as
absolutely.
well. Thank
Ab-
you.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to our listeners, thank you for listening, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you, lovely lady. Thank you. Thanks.